The Zephyrian defense fleet hung in space like broken toys, their crystalline hulls fractured and bleeding atmosphere into the void. Admiral Kethvar watched through the observation deck of his flagship as another of his vessels succumbed to the relentless barrage from the hegemony dreadnoughts. The enemy's bioships pulsed with malevolent energy, their organic weapons tearing through Zephyrian shields as if they were paper. "Sir, we've lost the Crystal Dawn and Stellar Pride," reported his tactical officer, her voice barely containing her despair. "The hegemony forces are advancing on the colony worlds. We cannot hold them." Kethvar's mandibles clicked in frustration. The Zephyrian Confederation had been at war with the hegemony for 3 cycles now, and they were losing badly. The bioengineered monstrosities that comprised the enemy fleet seemed unstoppable, adapting to every weapon, every tactic the galaxy's united forces could muster. "Send another distress signal on all frequencies," he ordered. "Perhaps someone—" "Sir!" The communications officer's tentacles flared with excitement. "I'm detecting massive hyperspace signatures, multiple contacts dropping out of FTL." The view screen flickered as new contacts appeared on the tactical display. Kethvar's breath caught in his throat. The ships that materialized were unlike anything he'd ever seen. Angular, brutal things of metal and purpose. They bore no resemblance to the elegant curves of Zephyrian vessels or the organic horror of hegemony bioships. "Unknown vessels, this is Admiral Kethvar of the Zephyrian Defense Fleet. Please identify yourselves." A moment of static, then a voice replied in accented but clear galactic standard. "Admiral, this is Commodore Sarah Chen of the Terran Expeditionary Fleet. We received your distress call. Sorry we're late to the party." Terran? Kethvar had heard whispers of this new species, the humans, who had recently made contact with the Outer Rim colonies. They were young, primitive, some said, having barely achieved faster-than-light travel. "Commodore Chen, we appreciate any assistance, but I must warn you, the hegemony forces are—" "We've been watching, Admiral. Ugly bastards, aren't they?" Chen's voice carried an odd quality, not fear, but something that made Kethvar's scales ripple. It sounded almost like anticipation. The human fleet moved with startling coordination. Where other species' fleets flowed like schools of fish, the human vessels moved like a pack of predators, each ship covering another's approach, forming interlocking fields of fire that seemed to appear from nowhere. The hegemony bioships, sensing new prey, turned their attention to the humans. Massive plasma charges erupted from their weapons, the same attacks that had been decimating the Zephyrian fleet. The human ships didn't dodge, they didn't retreat, they accelerated directly into the barrage. Kethvar watched in horrified fascination as the plasma charges struck the human vessels. The energy that should have vaporized them simply dispersed. Their hulls absorbed the impacts with barely a flicker of their shield generators. "What are your ships made of?" he whispered into the comm. "Steel, tungsten, and spite, Admiral," came Chen's reply, "plus a few other things we picked up along the way." The human fleet opened fire. The weapons they unleashed were not the elegant particle beams of the Zephyrians or the bioplasma of the hegemony. They were crude, brutal things, kinetic projectiles that moved at significant fractions of light speed, explosive warheads that detonated in chain reactions, and something else entirely that seemed to tear reality itself. The largest hegemony dreadnought, a creature ship that had been methodically dismantling the Zephyrian line, suddenly found itself bracketed by 3 human destroyers. The bioship's adaptive armor began to shift, preparing to counter whatever new threat these primitives could offer. It never got the chance. The human weapons struck with mathematical precision. Not elegant, not beautiful, just absolutely, utterly effective. The dreadnought's bio-armor cracked, then shattered, then ceased to exist as the concentrated firepower of 3 ships designed by a species that had perfected warfare before they'd ever left their homeworld reduced it to its component atoms. In the space of 7 minutes, the human fleet systematically dismantled an enemy force that had been winning a 3-year war. As the last hegemony ship fell silent, Admiral Kethvar found his voice. How? Admiral, Commodore Chen's voice carried across the void. Humans have been at war for our entire recorded history. We've had 5,000 years to get really good at it. The hegemony just learned what we've always known. In war, there are no second chances. The human fleet began forming up for departure, their mission apparently complete. Will you stay? Help us rebuild? Can't, Admiral. We've got 12 more distress calls to answer. But don't worry. If anyone else wants to start trouble in this sector, they'll find out why the galaxy should be very grateful that humans prefer peace. As the Terran ships vanished back into hyperspace, Kethvar stood among the wreckage of his enemies and pondered a new reality. Humanity had arrived on the galactic stage, and the universe would never be the same.